Friday Night Local. Come in.
Hello, everyone, and we are here with the lovely, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Master. How are you doing?
I'm doing. How are y'all doing?
We are doing,
Getting by, yeah.
getting by. Well, this is our second attempt now, recording this after some mishaps last time, but it's kind of a blessing, really, because we've got a new collection of songs as well. Oops, side up. Uh, yeah, 3 tracks. Do you want to go a bit more into detail about them?
Well, I've been putting up songs on Spotify and streaming services and stuff this past month that are actually older. I actually put all of the songs that came out recently out a while ago on SoundCloud,
Hmm.
and recently I've been feeling like a bit. I've been feeling a bit like I want to cool off music for a bit and just kind of focus on other things. And in the meantime, I'm like, I'm just gonna have these songs posted here just because I'm still happy with them and would like more people to hear them. And it's 3 songs because it's all in a similar kind of style of up tempo poppy things, I guess. Just that little EP, I guess. I don't know. It's
Mm.
just like some singles to throw up that are older that I just would like more people to hear because I like them.
How was it putting together these collect? Did you know when you were writing the first song that I could do more of this? I could see this being like a little mini collection. And how long did that take?
I don't know. I mean, it wasn't that deep. Like because there's we may talk about ultra and all, there's a whole thing there, but it's
Oh
kind
yeah, of
of the main
course.
project I've been working on and then stuff on the
Mm.
side where I'm just whatever hits for me, just feel like I want to make a bit of a. I made Oops Side Up in like a night, I remember, like in
Really?
a day
Mm.
basically. So was just there are songs that I spend a lot of time working on and writing, and then there's somewhere just that's more of the ultra thing, the more focused. I'm really gonna sit down and work on something big, and then there are songs on the side where I'm just like, I'm just gonna do this for fun, basically. And most of the songs that don't have orange covers are that.
Mm.
Well, it is like as we were saying last time. It's just an incredibly consistent and brilliantly consistent sort of coloring of artwork. You actually went a bit into detail about the sort of story behind it. You want to sort of elaborate on that a little bit? The story of Orange.
Behind the color orange,
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, when I talk about how things came to be, I feel the stories aren't super interesting. I
Mm.
mean, the concrete why it is there in the first place story
Mm.
is that in high school I put out uh whatever, like I worked on this. Oh yeah, no, it was the original Ultra Lounge release. I don't think I said that. uh oh my god. So this project I'm working on, this ultra project I'm working on, it started with an initial release of 9 songs in 2016. About I had a friend of mine create a little cover for it that was inspired by Bobby Darin album cover, a Bobby Darin album cover, not this one, but that's Bobby Darin right there
Mm.
on vinyl. And it was orange and had a picture of him in black and white and had the song titles, and I had my friend just recreate that. And
Mm.
basically, because I have to have friends do artwork because I can't do that. I make music and all, but I'm not a visual person at all.
Mm.
I had my friend do the one artwork, and then that was that. And as time has gone on, I've been focusing on the music and not on visual stuff. So I realized that all I had really been doing is taking that cover with the picture and the stuff and just taking it away because just
Mm.
minimalism out of necessity, basically, because I just can't do anything else. Just, okay, let me just take the words off. Let me take the picture and all that. And then I just ended up with only the color orange. And then it
Mm.
just worked because, I mean, because that's how it started. It was that album cover. The reason I've stuck with it is just realizing how much it fits with my style and how sticky outy it is,
Mm.
how loud and bright it is, the connotations, I guess, with children's media, Nickelodeon, etc.
Mm.
And so, And I also realized that I don't see anybody else really claiming orange like that as a color.
Mm,
I mean, in
mm,
general, I don't see anybody like claiming colors like this is my color thing. Like I
Yeah,
think
like
that's interesting, and just
trademarks.
like in a branding sense as well. Yeah, a bit
mm.
like where if you just see this, you latch onto that, and
Mm.
The
Well, it's,
consistency is so key, and I think that's something that really comes across on those early singles.
and
Actually, yeah.
that's a stylistic thing musically, but it also is really a bit of a branding thing. I mean, I
Mm,
am kind of business minded. I'm studying business right now at university, and the marketing end of things has always been interesting. And so it just kind of worked that orange fit the style, but it also is just consistency in the visual sense. Like I have my little logo, I guess, where it's my head, and I have that. Like that is something I consider as much as anything else with like I consider it just as much as the music. I guess the visual end of things. I mean, I don't do much
mm,
visual stuff, but the
mm.
branding end of things, like that's part of it as well.
mm.
Do you feel sometimes that limiting yourself into this really small box is like giving you, you know, it's almost innovation in a way. It's giving you more and more chances to create new things, like giving yourself those restrictions.
A little bit. I mean, that's because if we're talking, yeah, I mean, in general, limitation breeds creativity.
Mm.
I mean, because like I'm saying, it is consistent in the visual style, but also in the music, where really it could just be broken down to cartoon samples, hip hop drums, wacky voices, intellectual lyrics. There, that's Ultra.
Mm.
Mm.
There's the whole thing, and within those, and that's it really. I don't have it ready like that's the definitive list or anything, but it is these specific points I keep hitting, and they are
Yeah.
restrictions, I guess. And there's a lot to say about how I've been kind of pushing up against those, and how there are some sing-songy, love songy type songs in Ultra too, but there's like give in those restrictions. But yeah,
Mm.
it seems
I
like
think,
it
yeah,
would be
like you're saying.
limiting. But first off,
Oh, carry on, carry on.
yeah, uh, it seems like it would be limiting. But one, I have the stuff I'm doing on the side, like I said, where I'm just experimenting just outside of the project, but also just I remember telling a friend recently that so this project I've been working on for almost 4 years now. It just hit its 80th song, and I swear this song that I just put out, it feels like I'm only just beginning to figure out what the style is.
Mm,
Where just getting to the level of intellectualism, I guess, in the lyrics, and especially that lyrically, just you'd be surprised how much you can get out of a little, I guess. Imposing
Mm.
restrictions, it seems like it would be limiting, but in reality, it just forces you in a place where you're like, what else can I do with just this?
mm.
And apparently, you can get nearly 4 hours of music of what I limited myself to.
Yeah. Mm,
I mean, it's been a long ride, hasn't it? It's been a very long ride. I mean, we were talking last time a bit about your project before this, the album. With some of your songs, we've got 500 Miles on here, Animal Crossing, the album Inside, Outside, Upside Down, which is a bit of a tongue twister, but it's, genius nonetheless. You want to talk a bit about
mm.
that as sort of like maybe not necessarily a beginning point, but just, a point in your career?
Well, it's interesting that I explained where I'm at right now with the older songs I'm putting out because that album is actually a compilation of older songs that came out
Mm.
forever ago, and I put
Mm,
it on. The album is actually just a collection that it wasn't an album until I put it up on Spotify and streaming services and stuff.
Mm.
It was just a collection of songs that I kind of just did,
mm,
and I think we talked. So yeah, like I just laid out, there has been this focus primarily on this intellectual, innovative kind of style of music, and then I've just kind of been kind of
mm,
putting stuff out on the side just whenever I want to just make a song that's more emotional or just more fun, or if something's going
mm,
on in my life and I want to kind of process that through music. I still do that,
mm.
of course, and that's just
mm.
It's
yeah,
just
it's
what it
just like
is.
a collection of songs that of stuff like that, one-offs basically.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm,
Every one of those songs was just one-offs, and here it is together in one thing.
mm,
And so that's a theme throughout, I guess, my career, that I have this main focus, and then there's stuff on the side. And we talked about this last time, how if you'd like me to go in the story 500 miles, that's kind of the
yeah.
story of it.
yeah. Go into it. We'd love
Where,
to. Love to hear it. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I have a funny relationship with that song, mainly because it's my biggest song. It has like 300,000 plays on SoundCloud. It has like 250,000 plays on Spotify for whatever. I put it out like over 4 years ago, and like I say, it is the example of I've been working on this big project that I don't get to talk about very often, that has taken up all my attention and all my
Mm,
time and all my effort. And in the background, completely, like, I'm not even sure how it happened, this song kind of took off. There was no
Mm,
marketing push, there was no me trying to spread it all crazy. It just kind of did what it did. And the
mm,
story that I tell myself is that this lo-fi hip hop genre scene of artists, something which I kind of happened into as well through just
mm,
mutual connections, like friends
mm,
of friends. That's how I met these people. They found it, and then I guess they liked it, and they shared. I still don't know. So
mm,
it's an interesting relationship I have with that song, especially where it's just happens so much so in the background. I guess like I like experimenting with all these different styles, and of course making these more, I guess, palatable, accessible songs.
mm,
mm,
Not on purpose, but just, just for fun. And my main focus, though, is this weird experimental project. So it's interesting to have
mm,
these songs that I'm just kind of putting out kind of do what they do. So
mm,
I look at the response I've gotten from that song for years now. I'm getting comments like, "This got me through middle school," and "I'm so happy I found this song years and years after
mm,
loving it forever, and then I forgot about it." Like, oh, I guess it's been that long then. And it's a weird thing to try and make sense of. I mean,
mm,
in general, just because of the way the internet works and the distance that
mm,
is there,
mm,
because these are just numbers on a screen. It's just text
mm.
on my phone, basically, just text. And just reading that, I'm just like, it seems like it would be so powerful, but it's such a distance there, just technologically, but also
mm,
just
mm,
in that that song hasn't taken off my like focus like pretty much ever. I put that song
Mm,
out just cause that's a song where I
yeah.
was put. I something happened in my life. I met a
mm,
girl. I was catching myself reading very deeply into what she said. I felt silly about it and was like, oh, I
mm,
could probably squeeze two verses out of this particular
Mm,
angle on
mm,
love,
mm,
versus writing just a general "I love you, you love me" type song, right? I was
yeah.
like, because that's what that song is about. And this is another thing. I don't know if people clock what I'm doing in that song, but it's the specific angle of reading very deeply into what someone is saying, trying to see if they're flirting with you or not. That's what I was doing.
mm,
She said it was nice to meet me. She said, "Nice to meet you," and I was just like, "What? It's nice? Okay, I guess I guess it's nice then."
I guess
And
it's going all
I was
right.
literally doing that. I was like, "Oh, I
yeah.
feel so silly doing that." Yeah, I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
She wants to see me soon. She's like, "See you soon," and I'm just like,
Mm,
"Soon? How soon?" Like that's where my head was at, and I was like,
Mm,
"I'm so stupid," and like that happened, and then nothing came of that. And that's the story of most of the love songs that I've written, is that I
mm.
felt that feeling, wrote a song about it, and then nothing happened. So
mm,
yeah. And then it just kind of went, right? I mean, I made that song, there's that feeling. I'm
Mm,
very grateful that I captured that feeling, and I feel very good in a technical sense that I caught it the way that I did,
mm,
because me being the way that I am, I'm very into words. So if we're talking lyrics, I could go hours and hours just breaking stuff down. Likewise, I'll just break people's words down like super much. So
mm,
it
mm,
kind of was the best of both worlds merging just in a technical sense, and just emotionally that's where I was at. So word to
Mm.
Yeah, of
play,
course.
right? I'm reading super into words and just messing around with the word. So
Mm.
yeah, I mean, I I of course have a very each song has a very special place in my heart. But yeah, it's hard to take, and I just have my little relationship with it, and
Mm,
it's hard to account for those numbers on the screen and those text
mm.
boxes that I read
It's
in
surreal.
that. It's just I know when I hear that song, I hear a moment in my life, and that's kind of
Mm.
it. And then I
Mm.
guess there are other people who appreciate it, and I'm just
Yeah,
like,
have their own
thanks,
unique moments
but
they've
I
attached to
don't
it.
know what to
Yeah.
be thankful
Yeah.
for.
Mm.
Yeah, but I don't know what that means though. It's like I'm talking like
Yeah,
these are like teenagers. It's like, and I want to be very grateful, but it's like it's just I'm reading these comments and like it's I kind of just have to imagine what they're
yeah.
going through and be
Yeah. Yeah.
grateful for like imaginary grateful for my imagination of what they said.
Mm,
It's like
Mm.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'm proud of that song. I'm happy for what it did and what similar songs like did, but yeah, I mean, when I think of that song, it's just I'm
mm,
Mm.
mm.
I mean, on that
It's a perfect
trajectory as well,
theme.
where would you position, Freya especially? Is that a song you would consider more in line of your emotional tracks, or is it kind of a one-off release?
I was debating that. It's funny. I mentioned this.
Mm.
This is with lately with the project. I've been thinking like I've been making songs and questioning whether or not they are ultra, like they fit in the project.
Mm.
And I definitely thought about that when I was like, this is more in line with Animal Crossing, like that song. I remember somebody
Mm,
commented was like, this is kind of the sequel to Animal Crossing, and I was like, that isn't what I intended, but it kind of is. And so it's not in that it is very sing-songy and is way more in line with songs like that stylistically. For me, it's
mm.
just I'm so happy with the way I cut that sample. Oh my goodness! Like if you hear the sample,
Mm.
it's just I cut it up like crazy, and so I'm just
Yeah.
happy with that chop, right?
Oh, that's
So
great. Yeah.
and that was kind of I'm just so happy with that instrumental, and kind of that was just it's ultimately arbitrary, I guess. Like it's just kind of what the name and the color you
Mm,
put on it. I don't know, but
Mm. Mm.
yeah. And just to say this as well, I remember just coming up with the two lines, and I was really happy with those two lines. Before I made the beat, I kind of just had the idea for the chorus, which rarely happens. I had the idea for the lyrics
mm,
first, and I didn't have the beat, and I made the beat after. But I was like, I just had those first two lines, and I didn't know, and that was it. That's all I had. And
mm.
then how I found the sample was in that the beginning of this year, I was listening to a lot of doo wop, just
Mm.
kind of as a refresher, but also looking for samples. But mainly just as a break from like rap and stuff like that, which I've been usually listening to. I was just listening to a lot of stuff from the 50s and 60s, a lot of
Yeah.
warm, lush, doo woppy stuff like
Mm.
that,
Mm.
and found that sample. And the thing about music from that era is that there's a good amount of songs where it's not just a love song, but it's a love song with a particular name of a person, right? Where it's like Johnny
Mm.
Angel or right, it's like a specific name. It's not just I love you. It's like I love you this specific name. And I was like,
Dedicated
oh,
to
that's
this
funny. Imagine if I
person.
wrote a
Yeah.
song like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's not just you're the best, like in general, but like this specific person. Just and again, just technically, lyrically, it's interesting to just focus on that particular name versus it being general. And I kind of thought that
Mm,
and was like, oh, that'd be funny if I did that and left. And then I pulled up to a drive-through place one day and was like, hey, and whatever. And like I talked to someone and she was like, what's your name? And I was like, Gabriel. And what's your name? Freya. And I was like, I really like that name. Oh my goodness. Like I hadn't heard it since Animal Crossing. Like that was the only other time that I heard it,
yeah.
like the name of a
Mm.
villager in
Mm.
Animal Crossing. And I forgot in like middle school. And then I just never heard it again until then and was like, oh, that's a cute name. Wait a second, a specific name, and then the song just kind of flowed from there. So I'm not gonna lie, like I've been listening to that song a lot. Like I'm really happy
Yeah,
with that
it's a
song.
Mm.
banger, mate.
Mm.
Like
Great one.
like
Mm.
I've been listening to a good few of your songs like on repeat. Like they're listens that you come back to.
Mm.
It's not just a like, oh, there's some good ideas here. It's like these are catchy, man. These are really catchy.
Big tracks,
that's the
yeah.
I'm
aim.
gonna try and
Like
mix that in a summer
and
playlist. See what happens.
I mean, I would hope so. And if we talk more
Yeah.
about the intellectually focused lyrics and stuff, it does get
Mm.
very heady and
Mm.
brainy and stuff. But I never want to let go of that in
Yeah.
a technical sense where I want to keep my skills sharp, right? Like, of course, I can sit here and do the whole lyrical, miracle, spiritual thing,
Mm.
but there are so many people who get wrapped up in that and don't know how to make a catchy song. And so
Mm.
there's just the skill
Mm.
wise, like just knowing how to, I mean, sing, of course, and just writing a catchy melody. Like, it's nearly in opposition, where the more you focused on the brainy end, the
Yeah.
more you lose that thing.
Mm.
So I never want to lose that. It's also just, again, it's also just I want to write songs like this sometime because I'll get sick of it. Like, okay, I'm like getting to like the song that I just put out for like the 80th song that I'm mentioning, Fiction Science. I'm kind of at a point now where I'm like, this is so brainy that like I think I need a break from this. So like it's just switching between this. So like if I get super heady, it's like, okay, maybe I need to just write a simple love
Mm.
song
Mm.
just to like cool down basically. And that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to say it was that because that song just kind of popped up, but that might have been why. I don't know.
Mm.
Like, but so the catchiness, yeah. Like, so like if we talk lyrics, it could be like the fanciest thing, and it's just like just writing a song about a girl that makes me blush, right? Like, I just super
Mm.
simple,
Yeah.
like on purpose, like being good at that. It's very much a skill,
Mm.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I never want to
There's
lose
an art to
that just
writing
to
a
make a
pop
catchy
song
song.
in a way.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Was there anything you wanted to ask about, Angus, in relation to nerdcore? I remember we were talking about that beforehand, and
That's
you were like
this
quite
was
eager
the
to
area
go.
I wanted. Yeah, so I'm actually quite a big fan of MC Front a lot, and you know the classic
There
album
we
Nerdcore
go.
Rising, and
Yeah.
no, I think
There
Nerdcore
we
Rising is
go.
such a gem. So yeah, I just
Okay,
wanted to
wait.
get your opinion on that.
Nobody's no. Oh, nobody has mentioned MC Friend a lot to me before I have. Like, I have to say it first. So I'm kind of shook. Like in my life, to be honest. So I'm kind of excited. So what is the question here? Because I can definitely say a lot about it.
So the question I kind of just wanted to ask as well, just from what I've read, I kind of heard a bit of MC Front a lot before Nerdcore Rising. You know, very seminal album for me. I would say I really appreciate that album. What do you think your relationship with the album is, and do you know, has it changed over time as your music preference has changed?
MC Friend a lot is the reason why I rap. In
Mm.
middle school, I the story is basically I found his music and he showed me that you can do this. You can be a nerd and rap. And I found his stuff. I wish I could remember how, but I did. And it got eighth grade me to write a little rap and get in front of my class and perform it. And then to keep doing that and keep doing that and keep doing, and then do stages in high
Mm.
school and do open mics. And it had really gotten me there. Like, without him, I would not be doing what I'm doing. And it's
Mm.
why I never want to let go of the I mean, the new nerdcore thing is just me wanting to take that baton and run with it. And I wonder what your take on this, because nerdcore, it's like it exists now. It's funny, like I usually have
Mm.
to explain the whole nerdcore thing, but I think you might like get it a bit more if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know about him.
He knows
But
his stuff.
I mean, nowadays though, like I feel if people are doing nerdcore, it's very just raps about video games, raps about
Mm.
anime,
Mm.
raps about movie, whatever. Like, and it hasn't gotten much further than that, I guess. Where that's kind of where it was at, right? Like nobody was doing that,
Mm.
and I
Mm.
mean there were people doing it before and didn't even call it nerdcore. There's the whole history of that, but I just felt like there was nobody taking what they were doing and like pushing it forward, and so
Mm.
it's not that big of a deal. I'm not super just focused on it, but the reason I had the new nerdcore label is kind of that, to say that nerdcore is why I rap in the first place,
Mm.
and I never got sick of it. Again, I'm always just figuring stuff out about it. I'm just learning more and becoming more and more of a nerd about so many
Mm.
different things. It started
Mm.
out as pop culture and movies and the theater and like art and stuff, and now like I'm getting into like proper nerd stuff. Like I've been writing about astronomy and anthropology
Mm.
and the environment and nature and taxonomy and law
mm,
and fashion and gender and sexuality and like history from like all over like international like so to me that's still just nerdcore in that I'm always constantly teaching myself stuff. And
Mm.
so
It's a learning experience.
there's a
Mm.
yes, rigorously so though. Like I
Mm.
mean everything is a learning experience, right? You could just trip and fall into a learning experience through life, but actively doing it in a nerdy way, like that's my if we're talking nerdiness, I remember it hitting me one day that I felt like academia is like the final frontier when it comes to nerdiness because you can be a nerd about like I could be so elitist and so pretentious right now
mm.
about how video games are the Super Bowl now, like esports, like that's just sports now. So if
Mm.
you're into esports, you're a jock.
Yeah.
If you're into comic books, like that's
Mm.
Marvel, Star Wars, come on, like hundred millions of billions of dollars, like
Mm.
that's Disney,
Mm.
right? Like you
Mm.
love a Disney movie now if you are into Star Wars, anime, like all the stuff that people are into pop culturally. Like you saying a big nerd now, like me being judgy, I'm just like, come on. So and I'm like the real like the last surviving nerds are the ones who are out here doing big
Learning about
proper
stuff.
big brain stuff
Mm.
exactly and difficult stuff, right? Like I use
Mm.
like the kind of stuff that I incorporate in my work is just really specific jargon that doesn't have any business existing outside of
A
like
textbook.
medicine, like
Mm.
literally, right? Like this is
Mm.
textbook,
Mm.
like this is glossary index,
Mm.
nobody's even looking here type of stuff. Nobody is looking here, real nerdy things. So I'm like, I'm so in debt to nerdcore and the founders of it, and especially MC Frontalot, that I'm like, I would be remiss, it would be irresponsible of me to not take this style and give back to it.
Mm.
Like
Mm.
take it further. So yeah, like because I see something there. That's the thing. Nerdcore, I feel like just could be seen as raps about nerdy stuff, and I mean that's kind of what it started out as.
Mm.
Mm.
Lately, and I feel like only in the past like 6 months, maybe. I've been working on this project for years. Like I'm
Mm.
saying, I'm only barely starting to figure stuff out. I'm starting to see nerdcore as a potential avenue for like I've been approaching my music more so as educational music, Dan. We like this
Mm.
is how we like started kind of talking,
Yeah.
right? Educational music. So like it's not just me showing off how big of a nerd I am, but kind of encouraging other people to I don't want to
It's
gravitate to the word nerd per
actively
se.
teaching a lesson almost.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I mean, I want to like cuz I'm not trying to hold people's hands and be like,
Mm.
"Hey, like let's go." It's like
Mm.
Just an
to
encouragement.
it's
Mm.
a little bit in a through example kind of way
Mm.
where my whole thing is imagine a good, catchy, not just entirely intellectual, but a catchy, danceable nerdcore song that gets people dancing and sing along to the catchy melody, and then you sneak in. This isn't like the explicit, like this isn't the exact thing, but imagine because the thing about nerdcore is that it's very stimulating up here. It's very intellectually stimulating. It's not very danceable in a world
Yeah.
where
Mm.
TikTok is
Mm.
king. That's the thing. It's like that's why it doesn't take off like that
Yeah.
because these people know how to be smart on record, but they don't know how to make. I don't want to say don't know how to make records, but they probably know more about being smart than
Danceable records.
exactly. That's like the key for me. Like that's a very specific thing because we could talk catchy and whatever. Like, and this is my thing with making the beats. That's where the danceability comes in. And I'm very
Mm.
like I'm not saying I dance, but I've been around people who dance, and I'm very into hip hop dance culture specifically. And I could just go on
Mm.
for a bit about that.
Mm.
So that informs the music I'm making just as much as the intellectual stuff, as the nerdcore stuff.
Mm.
So I'm
Mm.
like, okay, if I'm as dancey and sing songy and brainy as I am, maybe this whole nerdcore thing could actually be. Because imagine if nerdcore took off and it I guess it became cool to be a nerd, I guess. Like
Mm. Mm.
Mm.
like
Like an actual nerd rather than a fake nerd, like you were talking about, like actual academia.
kind of like school, like
Mm,
that's my thing, and I feel that, I mean, that's what music can do. I mean, you just find a really good artist or really good genre of music, and then it just becomes your identity, right? And
mm.
part of that is just, I think my thing is just, I want to believe that there are so many people who would actually find academic, rigorous learning, like self teaching, autodidactism,
Mm.
they would actually
Mm.
enjoy that if it was presented in a way that related to them and
Mm.
wasn't in a Sesame Street
Well,
way. Like,
mm,
here it is
there's
in
a
a,
there's a market for it, really.
Mm.
I
Oh,
think so. I
sorry.
don't,
You finished what you were going to say.
I think, I actually wrote a bit about this in Fiction Science, the very, very brainy, oh my God, the biggest, like, brainiest song that I just put out. This Henry Ford quote that goes something like, if I asked them what they wanted, they would have said faster cars. The kind of
Mm.
innovative
Mm,
mindset that says, I think Steve Jobs also said something like, people don't know what you want until you give it to them. Like,
mm,
where I don't know if people know. Like, I would like to believe that there is a market for this. They just don't realize that it's a market, right? It's like
Mm.
nobody's ever
Mm.
tried or been able to take this nerdy stuff, and not just nerdy pop culture, like big, big, big brainy nerdy stuff. Is there anybody
yeah.
else in a position to take this big academic stuff and put it on catchy music nowadays, right?
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Because it's a whole different ballgame nowadays. Like, the danceability is so key in that. I mean, I'm not trying to blow up on TikTok or anything. Just, I think I understand in an intuitive sense, in a visceral sense, what this music can do. Meaning, when I was
Yeah.
in university before, I went to live shows and was at parties with friends and just hearing this music. Like, I still remember when Birds in the Trap Sing by Night came out, the album, the
Mm.
Travis Scott album came out, and
Yeah.
just seeing what that album did. I remember I didn't get it at first. I didn't really get Travis
Yeah.
Scott at first
Mm.
because I was sitting and listening to it. And then I saw it at a show, and I felt the energy with all the people, and I was like,
Mm.
"Oh, okay, this is what it is." And so to take that feeling, that visceral feeling with the music, and then pair that with the brainiest things you could ever imagine, I'm like, not only have I spoken to people in an intellectual spaces online about the music, and how I feel that I don't want to put it in terms of up and down, higher and above, but just for the sake of simplicity, big brainy people all the way up here in a zoomed out kind of sense, to like bring them down to earth a little bit
Mm,
and not
Mm.
take things too seriously, and understand that music nowadays, like hip hop nowadays, didn't just go downhill, right?
yeah.
Because if I talk about
Mm.
hip hop nowadays in these intellectual spaces, everybody just kind of recoils and clutches their 90s hip hop records, like,
Mm.
no, everything
Gatekeeping
just went
almost.
downhill after the year 2000 or whatever. And so I'm just like, no, 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 it's fun. Just like take a load off, take a chill pill, basically, and like
Mm.
understand that this music is actually really good. Likewise, to take people who would never be in an intellectual space like that, they would never end up having a conversation about neurophysiology or anthropology or history or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Mm.
They would have no business. They like they would never like you could accidentally run into these guys. Like, I end up in these places because I look for them, but
Yeah.
there are people who just don't look for them, and because of that they will never end up in them, because it's
Mm.
like, unless you make a plan to go to the UK or something, like, I just won't go there. Likewise, you just won't
Yeah.
end up in a big academic space because you won't look. Okay,
Mm,
fine. So I'm
Mm.
like, I wonder if I can meet people at that level where, and again, it's the complete, if I'm wording it out like this, it sounds like I'm trying to do it, but the whole point is for me to not try to do it. Again, a lot of the stuff is just, it's happening, right? I just kind of am the way I am, and I make the music I make. The catchy stuff isn't strategic. It's just I like music like that, and if you ask me to write a song like that, I just hope it comes out that way because I've been listening to music like that for
yeah.
years, like for as long
Mm.
as I've been alive, very closely, and I have the technical capabilities, all that. It's just if you ask me to make a song like that, it'll come out like that. Also, it will just come out that these intellectual lyrics just pop up because that's me too. I'm watching lectures and stuff all the time as well. So I'm like taking the intellectual people down to the level of just nowadays and being like, this music is fun, and then taking the people who are kind of just having fun and being like, I don't want to ruin your fun. There's a way to
Mm.
have all the big brainy stuff and still have fun.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like
yeah.
quit drugs, right? Like I'm not that kind of person. It's like do
Mm.
your thing. By the way, you can do all that stuff and be
And
a nerd
learn
as well. To
something.
me,
Yeah.
I'm like
Yeah.
exactly, yeah, and like to kind of again, I don't want to like focus specifically on the word nerdcore, but to kind of make it cool to be a nerd, to put it very simply, but
Mm.
to break it down all the way to the science to science, I guess, on my end. So that's what I saw when when I the more I sat with and made nerdcore hip hop music. I'm like, this could be a vehicle for other people
Mm.
to see how cool learning is. I mean, just
Mm.
again, that's so like if I word it out that way, I feel like it's really forced. It feels very contrived if I word it out
Mm.
that way. But I just hope that all this like stuff that I'm this is all I'm thinking about when it comes to the project, especially
Mm.
this. If we're talking nerdcore,
Mm.
I'm like it as a potential method to make intellectualism appealing to people who it wouldn't have appealed to otherwise.
Mm.
I could just word it out like that if I want, but I just hope that if I've done
Mm.
it right, the music, if you listen to it, be like
Yeah.
just without words, just like I hope like you can get that at the
Mm.
very least it's different. Like get a
Mm.
sense of what I'm doing here. It's like it's big brainy lyrics, it's catchy stuff, and do whatever you want with it. I mean, that's kind of the vision for it. But again, I don't want to hold anybody's hand through it.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
people have to have their own relationship with it. And as we sort of
Mm.
come towards sort of the end and stuff, how, you've talked a lot about how you see the future of nerdcore and everything. But what do you see with your contemporaries around you? Like, what do you see other people doing with nerdcore now? Like, do you think they could be doing anything differently, or do you think it's fine what they're doing, but you're going this different way from them?
I could. I've rapped on record about I've rapped on record before about Martin Luther and his 95 Theses and
Mm,
how that kind of like split the thing up. I mean, go and do your thing. I've also rapped on record about multiple times on different songs about how what I kind of want to do here. Again, this isn't the explicit thing, but you could see it as me wanting to make up a new style for people to steal, which I mean, go down the list like
mm.
Playboy Cardi, Lil Uzi Vert. They hopped on the scene, and now what? 100 Gex. Like that's probably the most recent sticky outing
Mm.
thing in my mind. Like
Mm.
100 Gex did what they did, and
They
now
do
look,
stick out.
And look at them now.
a
Yeah, yeah,
hundred
yeah.
Gex.
Mm.
There's like 100,000 Gex everywhere. Like
All the decks.
so I'm like, okay, so that's possible. Like a million gags basically. So I'm like, that's kind of when I say that, it's kind of just a flex. It's just a bit of a punchline on
Mm,
record, but it is also like I would love to see somebody taking this and running with it in that way. That's where I
mm.
see because I mean, what else? Like nerdcore could just be so niche and just stay there. And I mean, cool, but like I really see a potential for it going places. And if that means, and like, it's funny you asked about contemporaries. I don't know if I have too many contemporaries in this thing. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I
Mm.
hope that in
Mm.
the future I can have contemporaries in
Yeah.
this, where
Mm.
maybe it's somebody who's focused on a specific field, but like it's so early on. But I would love, and it's interesting if the future in general for me. I want to because the main thing is that I've been working on this project for
Mm.
years, completely just on my own. I've been making the
Yeah.
beats and writing the lyrics and everything. And so I'm at a point now where it's 80 songs long. I'm just like, maybe I should actually pop my head out the ground and talk to other people about this, show this to other people, and be like, what do you
Yeah.
make of this? Right? Like, I see some sort of future here with it, but it isn't going to exist without your idea of what the future of it or
The
just music in
community.
general could be. Yes,
Mm.
building a community. That's
Mm.
the thing. I think this is something that you could build a community around, I think. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm gonna do that, but yeah, I guess if there's any sort of future for the project beyond it being niche, then it would involve other people. It would need other people. That being said,
Mm.
I'm perfectly fine not having any contemporaries and working on these ultra bombs in my Unabomber ultra cabin in the woods. Like I'm chilling. If nobody finds out, I mean you're lost. Go ahead.
Mm.
Well, that's a perfect way to sort of wrap things up. I think
Yeah, that's
you're a person that sort of, if you don't like it, there's the door, and if you want to stay here, you
yeah.
go. It's brilliant to
Mm.
keep that as an artist. I think.
Mm. I
And
think as well,
yeah,
it really
thank you so
sounds like
much
you're
for
laying
coming on as well.
foundations, which is important. Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
It really has been. I'm really grateful for any time I can talk to anybody about it. Yeah, like I'm just so grateful just whenever I get to talk to anybody about music. So it means the world,
Mm.
honestly.
Well,
Fantastic.
and
Well,
you're
again,
always
thank you
welcome
so
to come
much.
and
It was
promote
great to hear.
anything.
Mm.
Yeah, come on for another song promotion. We'd love to have you on as well.
Mm. Mm.
Of course, whenever you'll have me.
And last question as
All right. Well,
well.
until next
Would you
time.
be okay with
Oh
us
yeah, go
maybe
for it,
putting
Angus.
one of
Go.
the songs on the podcast as well? Would that be okay with you
What
if
was
we
that?
played one of your songs?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Which
Fantastic.
one?
I mean, if you
Brilliant.
need, yeah, I'm like, which
Have you got a
Oh no,
preference?
which
One of
one
the
do you
ones we've
want?
talked about the most?
Yeah, it's up to you.
Mm.
one? Just play all of Inside Baseball now.
Play
I mean, Freya's like a
the whole
minute and a
thing.
half. If we're talking fine, if we're talking
Yeah.
time, then they're short. I mean, whatever. And then I can just send you the file if you need it too.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be
Yeah.
great, man. Thank you so much.
Brilliant.
All right, we'll take it easy. All right, bye bye.